The Vietnam War raged for nearly 2 decades. When the U.S. pulled out in 1973, the fate of millions of people hung in the balance. Saigon fell on April 30th, 1975, when the Viet Cong invaded. It was renamed Ho Chi Minh City, and Hanoi in the north was declared the new capital of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. Witnessing these events firsthand was 7-year-old Nam Nguyen, who was living in Hanoi at the time. He spent another 4 years living in Vietnam under its new communist regime until he escaped by sea in 1979.
This American food to me is very wonderful.
Now 50 years old, Nam enjoys a happy life in Sacramento with his wife and 4 sons.
It's almost ready.
It's a world away from the life he knew as a boy. In May 1975, Nam and his father embarked on an extraordinary 900-mile journey from Hanoi to Saigon to reconnect with family lost during the war. You were 7 years old, and you traveled from just north of Hanoi all the way down to Ho Chi Minh City. Just you and your dad?
Yeah, my dad and I, yeah.
And you traveled by foot? How long did it take you?
I think it took a few weeks because I remember that day and night we would travel.
When Nam and his father walked south, they could see the devastation of more than 2 decades of war. Nam's childhood memories of a war-torn Vietnam have always been something he's found difficult to share with his family.
A lot of freeway have bomb drop on them, and most of the bridges were broken. At night, you sleep on a road. And I remember one time, we went in a camp. My father stayed up all night. He held me in his arms. A lot of things I never told anyone, so a lot of detail I kept to myself. So, you know, when you speak about it, when you try to tell it, it basically you reliving that moment, and it's very hard to hold back. About it 2 weeks ago, I told him. This is a story that their father needs to tell because there's a lot of pain, but by sharing the story, you know, it helps you heal. We basically get picked up by North Vietnamese military trucks. You know, we waving and then... It's
definitely hard to understand where he's coming from because, you know, we've both grown up in such different environments. You know, he's grown up, you know, living by himself, raising himself, taking care of himself, whereas I am raised by him. You know, he shows us so much love. He's a great parent. You know, it's just such different worlds that we've lived in.
By 1979, 4 years after Nam's arrival in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam was still in chaos. Desperate to give at least one of their 5 children the chance of a better life, Nam's parents made the painful choice to have their resilient 12-year-old son smuggled out of the country.
I think my family was hoping that this is an opportunity for me to escape and go to another country where I would have a better life, and knowing that they're risking my life, you know, I think they're taking a chance. I don't think it was easy for them. I didn't really talk to my mom. She couldn't really talk to me, but all I remember was her tear coming down from her, and that's the last thing I remember from her. So I know it wasn't easy for her. I think at that moment she knew that she may not ever see me again.
It's now 38 years since Nam boarded a small fishing boat headed for Thailand, leaving his family behind.
Being out here on the lake kind of gave me a setting, a surrounding to help me to reflect on some of those memories. I feel free. You know, looking at a wave kind of remind me of South China Sea, the ocean. Our boat was very small and it was full of people, a lot of young children, and I was one of those kids.
It was a perilous journey in an overcrowded fishing boat. Only half of those who tried to leave Vietnam by sea survived. Nam and the other refugees sailed west, across the Gulf of Thailand. But on the third night, their boat was hit by a vicious storm.
I couldn't see the ocean, but I can feel the height of the wave and the depth of our boat whenever it dropped. And the lightnings and thunders. I was wet from the rain and wet from the water from the ocean. I would try to hang on to a step of a boat all night long because I didn't want to be thrown off the boat. I was trying to stay awake because I was worried that if I fall asleep, I may not survive.
Blown off course, the stricken vessel was eventually saved by an aid organization. Attempts were made to take the refugees to Thailand and Malaysia, but they were turned away. Eventually, Nam and his fellow refugees were dropped off on the small Indonesian island of Pulau Buton.
When we arrived, it's just like you land into a remote island, nothing there. It's just vegetation, just tree and grass, everything. So our first night we slept in the grass, on the grass and open sky.
So there wasn't a refugee camp there?
No, we were the first one. We made it, yeah.
You made it a refugee camp?
Yeah. Next day, we all go in the forest, basically cut tree, cut whatever we can find and start making our own hut. And we didn't even have, I don't even know if we had any knife, anything. We didn't have anything.
12-year-old Nam was left to fend for himself for almost a month, scared and without his family. But then he met a man who would change his life. Gary Ferguson was a charismatic ex-serviceman who had used his own money and resources to try to help the refugees. How did you first see Gary Ferguson?
I think when I see Gary, I see that he is somebody that I need at a time. He was fearless. He's not afraid of anything. And kids love him. And I want Gary to like me. I felt like I want him to take care of me because I felt kind of helpless.
Gary arrived in February 1979 and spent at least 3 weeks on the island before suggesting the refugees move on. He commandeered a small fishing boat and persuaded a few dozen of them to sail for Singapore and a new life. Nam was determined to go with them.
He showed the desire to help people, and I felt like he could do it, because I believe that he wanted to help this boat get into Singapore. But I didn't have anyone else that can look over me, and Gary was the only one at that time on that boat. He's there, he's my protector.
But as the refugees approached Singapore, they were intercepted by a gunboat.
The first thing I thought was, well, after they find out who we are, we're gonna get rescued.
In spite of the danger, Gary went aboard. He tried to talk the Singaporean authorities into giving the refugees safe passage.
We all expect him to come back quick with good news. And I couldn't believe it. They told us that we have to get out to the ocean. We have to get out of Singapore.
I was stunned. I couldn't believe it. I thought he was somebody that could do anything. How could somebody turn Gary down?
Gary was arrested and jailed for 2 weeks in Singapore. The refugees were forced to sail back to Pulau Buton without him. Nam had no idea what happened to Gary, but the impact of meeting him was far-reaching. Gary's confidence had inspired the 12-year-old with the courage to take chances. Nam wanted to be like Gary and come to America.
But basically, I learned a lot from what he did. I see a father figure in him. Gary reminds me of my dad. Even they look totally different, but their character, they have the same character. And that's what I want to tell him.
Nam Nguyen, who escaped from Vietnam in 1979 when he was 12 years old and was inspired by a charismatic American, Gary Ferguson, finally achieved his dream of coming to the U.S. a few months later, sponsored by a small church community in Nebraska.
I arrived in the U.S. in November 27, 1979. It's, I think, around Thanksgiving time.
The church had been moved into action by the plight of the Vietnamese boat people. You got a sponsor.
Yeah, Holy Cross Lutheran Church in Kearney, Nebraska.
In Kearney, Nebraska?
Yeah, we landed in the middle of nowhere because the airport is like nothing. It's just a small building, right? I remember it was so cold that it felt like burning, really strange. When the car was driving in the dark with the headlight and the snow, and it looked just like you in space, in the air, you were flying in the snow.
This is my first American home. This is the home in Kearney, Nebraska. The church put me into school right away. They didn't know what to do with me because I could talk English.
Although many people had helped Nam on his journey, it was Gary Ferguson, the inspirational aid worker, who had made the strongest impression.
Yeah, a lot of my photos look like cowboy because I think it kind of reminds me of how Gary used to look, because he always dressed with leather boots and cowboy vest and hat. So I thought I looked really good at the time. See, I have a few old address book or notes of contacts.
Before Nam left the refugee camp in Indonesia, he was given Gary's home address and telephone number in Arizona.
He lived in Fountain Hills, Arizona. As time goes by, I feel worried. I don't know if he's still alive.
Nam thrived in America, becoming a U.S. citizen in 1987. He spent 2 decades working in newspaper graphic design. He even managed to reunite with his parents again in Vietnam in the 1990s. Even with a successful career and life as a husband and father, he has never forgotten the man who inspired him to come to America. A few years ago, Nam appealed online for help in finding Gary, and he heard back from a French photojournalist who had been on the boat to Singapore. The photojournalist sent him a set of remarkable photographs.
It was a total surprise that I get to see all these photos, and then especially when I see myself on it.
There is one photo in this astonishing collection that stands out above all the rest.
That's Gary, and that's me right there. I couldn't believe how close I was to Gary. It's only a few feet.
This picture was taken shortly before Gary boarded the Singapore gunboat. Nam never saw him again. To find out more information about his mysterious hero, Nam is seeking the help of an archivist at his local library. He's uncovered some interesting information.
This is the article we found, okay? That's going to cover Gary's experience
Wow,
after
Gary?
you saw him. Yeah.
Gary, you mean Gary Ferguson?
Yeah. So post the last time you saw him, he actually came back to Southeast Asia and ended up going to a camp in Cambodia. And to help the folks at this camp in Cambodia, he liquidated some $400,000 of his own money. Wow. He has significant real estate holdings back in the United States. Wow. And so he went ahead, sold those off, used his money to help this camp.
Wow.
Gary got there, the conditions were deplorable. It was a mess. And he quickly went ahead and took matters into his own hands, worked with the leadership in the camp, and really turned things around for the camp.
So that's the kind of person I remember. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Nam. Thanks for coming in.
What I read today about Gary and his sacrifice, I even feel stronger about him. I can't wait to learn more about Gary's whereabouts, and I'm hoping that he's alive and well. I hope I can meet him and I can talk to him about my story on that boat ride to Singapore. I'm in Texas, first time in my life. The Lone Star State.
Nam has found out that Texas Tech University's Vietnam archive has a record of Gary Ferguson. The archive has collected and preserved documents and photos of Americans who served in Vietnam.
I'm very hopeful that we'll find something on Gary. So we'll see. Really big box.
Yes, sir. This is the Gary Ferguson collection. You might recognize some of these photographs and materials.
Yeah, this is Bhutan camp. Going into the camp, this is what you see. It looked terrible, but
yeah. Well,
at the time, it's like a miracle that we were alive. That's why I met Gary. He came and visited the refugees, and he decided to take another boat journey to Singapore.
Oh, there we go. So is that the Gary unit?
Yeah, yeah. This is how he looked when I met him.
This is him as a younger sailor. He was in the U.S. Navy. And he was in the South China Sea.
Yes.
For 2 years, from 62
Japan.
to 64.
He was in the Navy, huh?
Mm-hmm.
The collection even includes an audio interview with Gary, recorded in 2014 about his charity work in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, the last time I heard Gary's voice was 38 years ago. So I can't wait to hear his voice again. Hopefully he'll mention the Bhutan camp. Or even better, if he even mentioned the boat to Singapore.
I was reading an article in a paper in 1979 in the comfort of my $500,000 house, and it told about the Vietnamese boat refugees, and I told my wife, I says, I want to volunteer. I was making it money all over again, and it bored me. I was gambling, I was drinking, I was not a nice person.
Nam learns that Gary saw the refugee crisis as an opportunity to turn his own life around.
We got out in the ocean towards Singapore, and all of a sudden there was a gunboat.
Yes.
And it came right directly towards us. It was about maybe 150-foot gunboat, had 1.5 inch gun turrets on it, and it came straight for us.
Yep.
And then it cut off just in the nick of time. I said, My name's Gary Ferguson. I'm taking these people to Singapore.
Oh my
and
God.
then they're going to America. And they said, no, you're not.
This is
I'll
America.
send you. Well, the seas got rough and it got dark, and the refugees, some of them were saying, let's go back, find that island.
Yeah. Hearing Gary's voice, not only that, he talking about that boat journey that lived inside my heart for like 38 years. You know, I felt like when I hear him talking about it, I felt like I'm in that boat ride, I'm in that ocean. You know, it's like living it all over again.
As Nam listens, he discovers some disturbing news.
My wife passed away December 10th, 2010. She was taking care of me with stage 4 kidney failure.
I'm worried about his health right now. From this interview, sound like he wasn't in very good health. I'm really hoping that Gary is still alive because I really want to meet Gary.
Before Nam leaves, the archivist has one final piece of information.
Yeah, thank you again for everything.
This is Gary's phone number from 2 years ago.
Wow.
And so it's what we have as contact information when he visited us, and we hope that perhaps you'll be able to make contact with.
Thank you so much.
Well, it's an honor to meet you. Good luck.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
I couldn't believe that I'm holding Gary's phone number finally. I really hope that he's alive.
Nam Nguyen escaped from Vietnam in 1979 when he was just 12 years old. He ended up as a refugee on a remote island in Indonesia, scared and without family. It was here he met charity worker Gary Ferguson. So larger than life, he seemed a hero. Their meeting had such an impact on Nam's life, he has never forgotten him.
I would like to tell him thank you for what he did to the people on that boat.
That was 38 years ago. They haven't seen each other since.
This is so wonderful, and I'm looking forward to it. At the same time, I'm thinking about when it's over. I just want it to last a long time because I'm feeling so good right now. I'm gonna get to see somebody that I've been waiting for so long. Oh my God.
Hi, Nam.
Is that you, Gary?
Yes, sir.
No way.
A little older. You haven't changed a bit except you were 12, huh?
You look the same, my God.
It's good to see you, Peepers.
Oh my God.
Oh, boy. Been a long time, isn't it?
The last time they saw each other, Nam couldn't speak English, but even then, he knew what he wanted to say.
And I always want to tell you 3 lines. I want to tell you hello. I am Nam. I love America, and I want you to take me to America. I was going to tell you that, but I never had a chance.
Yeah,
at a camp.
I was taken off to prison.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was arrested for taking the boat out to Singapore.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you remember the gunboat?
Yes.
Almost sunk us out in the ocean.
I know. I got so excited because I thought that we're gonna get to Singapore, and with Gary that there's no way they're gonna decline.
What happened was, when I got so angry at this boat, they had this 1.5-inch turret come around and point right at me. They said, "What is your destination and who are you?" And I gave him my name, my serial number from Vietnam, and because otherwise they'd have blown me off the boat. Did you see all the the sailors with
They're all pointing rifle at us, yeah.
Yeah, at you and at me and everybody.
I thought we were going to get blown up. You looked really scary.
Yeah.
Gary never lost interest in humanitarian causes. After his 2 weeks in jail in Singapore, he was released and spent nearly a year helping refugees across Southeast Asia before heading home to raise a family in 1980. He now has 4 grown daughters and lives in Texas.
Oh, that's you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Same shirt.
Yes. Yeah.
I watching you like.
You used to go around. You used to follow me around, didn't you? Huh?
You know what? Vietnamese people, Bhutan call you?
Crazy.
Crazy American cowboy. He's still so passionate about helping people. He's still a kind person. I'm very happy I get to meet him. I'm very thrilled that I get to talk to him and share with him my story. So he's crazy American cowboy, like people call him. Gary, I want to let you know that I'm very fortunate that I get to meet you in person today after 40 years.
Oh, me, I feel the same.
Yeah,
It's been a long time.
Yeah, and I want you to know that I'm very grateful that I ended up to come to America and I had a wonderful life in this country. It wasn't easy.
No.
I had a lot of difficulty in the beginning, but I never forget that I'm very lucky that I'm American. I live in this wonderful country, and most of all, I'm very proud that I get to know you.
Thank you.
I never expect this. I mean, I always dream of maybe I get to find out what happened to Gary. I didn't even think it would be possible if I get to meet him.
We'll Meet Again is available on DVD. To order, visit shoppbs.org or call 1-800-PLAY-PBS. Also available for download on iTunes. Is there someone from your past who you want to meet again? Share your story at pbs.org/meetagain.